Welcome back to OtakuDaiKun. Dai here, and it's time for another video on the lore of El Melloi II Case Files. We've already finished all the Case Files novels, but its anime adaptation, Grace Note, introduces some never-seen-before plot arcs. I'd like to take a look at these episodes, offering both a brief synopsis as well as my relevant commentary. If you didn't know, this channel of mine was recently hacked. Even though I was able to recover all my content, there's still some fallout regarding channel memberships. I could really use your support right now, so if you can, consider becoming a paid member on YouTube, Patreon, or Subscribestar. All three platforms offer the same perks, and you can find links to them in the description. We've got a lot to cover, so let's dive right in. In its pilot, Episode 0, the Case Files anime further develops its introduction to Waver and Gray. One of their earlier bonding moments was when they took in a stray cat, which later got hit by a car. It's meant to show how mages wouldn't normally care about the life or death of an animal, yet Waver clearly regrets being unable to save it. As an aside, the anime version features a character that isn't really present in the novels. His name is Brahmanuada Rei Sophia Ri. He's the older brother of Solau from Fate Zero, and is heir to the Department of Spiritual Evocation. The official head is currently still the old man Ruflius, but whenever he's unavailable, Bram and Roko Belphegor attend meetings in his place. Fun fact, Bram and Solau were both raised to be the family's successor. When they were born, the Sophia Ri family feared their successors being assassinated, and so they prepped both children just in case one was killed. That kind of assassination never came to pass, but since Solau was killed during the Fourth Grail War, Bram is now the sole heir by default. He doesn't seem especially distraught over his sister's death. Traditional mages are just like that, I suppose. In fact, Bram gets legitimately confused about the fact that Waver would be emotionally distraught over a dead cat. The anime takes this cat narrative a step further, turning it into an attempt on Waver's life. Someone wants Waver dead and decides to curse him to feel the cat's despair. By intentionally running over the cat, they hope to transfer that death to Waver. Fortunately, since Gray has a strong connection with spirits, she's able to sense the cat's lingering presence, and Waver finds the cat's curse in the form of his own shadow. With the help of Flat and Sven, Waver's able to track down the culprit. This douchebag mage was hired by the clock tower to curse Waver, and was planning to use the payout for a vacation in Monaco. Luckily, before the curse can stop Waver's heart, Sven's beast magecraft helps him follow the perp's scent, leading to a highway battle. With more help from his students, Waver catches the bastard. Too bad the dude was brainwashed, such that he doesn't remember his own client. Considering that Dr. Heartless was behind most everything in the novels, it's reasonable to suspect he was at work here too. Episode 1 of the anime shows a flashback to when Waver traveled to Iraq, specifically the ruins of Babylon, where Iskandar presumably died. Here, Waver naively falls victim to the mystic eyes of a mage named Barzan. The dude takes Waver prisoner and plans to use him as a sacrifice. It's here in the dungeon where Waver reunites with his buddy Melvin. After his experience in the Fourth Grail War, Waver's become a more resourceful mage, enough to break Melvin and himself out of jail. Apparently, Barzan's been tricking people into excavating what might be Iskandar's tomb. This pisses Waver off on a personal level, so he sabotages the operation by having Melvin blow up Barzan's underground generator. The explosion disturbs the ley line, unleashing a bunch of angry spirits that wipe out Barzan and his lackeys. Episode 2 appears to take place after the Twin Towers of Iselma case, aka the second and third volumes of the novel. It deals with the Fargo family, who are a branch of the Animesphere family. Recently, the family's head, Ernest Fargo, has passed away, leading his daughter, Mary Leal Fargo, to consult Waver for assistance exploring Ernest's workshop. You see, Mary was one of Waver's former students, and she trusts him dealing with what is clearly a messy situation. Ernest's nephew, Alec Fargo, owed him a substantial debt, yet has the nerve to accuse the family's friend, Fernando Lee, of murdering Ernest. In truth, though, Alec just wants to sell off Ernest's tomes, and has no interest in how he died. As for Ernest's death, well, it was intentional. He wanted to obtain immortality in order to reach the root on his own terms, without having to entrust that goal to the next generation. He was a selfish bastard who abused the family's maid, Claire, and treated his daughter Mary like property. In the years since she was Waver's student, Mary has been a prisoner in her own house, branded with the mark of Saturn by her father. While she never wished for her father's death, she certainly wasn't thrilled about his attempted immortality. To accomplish that, Ernest sought to perform an astromancy spell called the Seven Planets Ritual, using his own body and soul as components. He used Fernando's knowledge of necromancy to make himself an undead spirit. Then, with the help of Dr. Heartless, he split up his body parts and arranged them strategically throughout the house so as to represent the solar system within an isolated space. This was supposed to help him reach the root, but all it really did was turn Ernest into a vengeful ghost. Why? Well, not only was the ritual unstable, but Ernest also did something rather unconventional. His family traditionally uses the Geocentric Model, which views Earth as the center of the solar system. Despite it being disproven through science, this model still holds value to mages. Regardless, Ernest arranged his ritual with the heliocentric model in mind, which apparently didn't work as well. It seems Mary knew this, but intentionally did nothing to save her father. In the process of looting goods, Alec is killed by evil spirits, having disturbed them with cigarette smoke. When Waver puts the ritual together, Ernest manifests as an evil spirit himself, one that has lost touch with his former self. To save everyone, Gray vanquishes the spirit with Ad, putting an end to the ordeal. In the anime, Fernando Lee winds up on the Rail Zeppelin along with Trisha Fellows. I think this was a nice original story, as it introduces Mary before she shows up as a character in Fate's Strange Fake. Stupid, greedy mages are nothing new in this universe. Episode 3 of the anime features one named Guldoa Davenant from the Department of Zoology. The department's head, Karatron, has recently passed on, leading various mages scrambling to take his place. Guldoa wants that spot for himself and decides to obtain power by creating an altar for Zeus within London's sewer network. Using elements of Jupiter, he summons phantasmal species, these weird lightning rabbits, to sneak around and kill innocent people as offerings. Their lives, along with siphoned electricity, are meant to help Guldoa reach the root. It's a reckless plan that completely ignores the advancements of modern civilization. Obviously, killing people on a large scale is gonna attract attention. Stealing electricity is also going to stand out a great deal. By doing very little to hide his activities and workshop, Guldoa risks breaching the concealment of mystery. Thus, Waver, Gray, Flat, and Sven all infiltrate the sewer and take his ass down. Guldoa's arrested, taken into custody by the Music family. You can tell by their homunculi, and a cameo of Baby Gordolf. In yet another original arc, episodes 4 and 5 feature the Pelham-Codrington family. Like episode 2, it deals with the ambitions of a dead mage who leaves his child to deal with the aftermath. Trevor Pelham-Codrington wanted to recreate the Wild Hunt. You might hear this term tossed around a lot in Fate Grand Order, but if you don't know what the hell it means, I can explain. The Wild Hunt is more of a narrative trope that appears in various legends. Sometimes it refers to a specific event, but most often, it's associated with famous figures who seem to embody its traits. Basically, the Wild Hunt occurs when devastating storms, blizzards, or cyclones manifest as hordes of dogs, goats, horses, soldiers, and monsters. In British myth, the Wild Hunt consists of fairy knights and ghosts who have yet to reach heaven or hell. The leader of this army is often attributed to the spirit of Theodoric the Great, former king of the Germanic Ostrogoths. Figures like King Arthur and Francis Drake have also been associated with the Wild Hunt. I suppose Trevor was stoked to try and harness a storm of wild beasts for himself. To that end, he went to the Rail Zeppelin and bought a pair of fairy eyes, or mystic eyes of glam sight. For some reason, he didn't put the eyes into himself, but rather his son, Wills. He would then use Wills to contact fairies and gain their cooperation in creating an artificial Wild Hunt. At Britain's Marbury workshop, Trevor would lure in outsiders to his manor and have them devoured by a pack of black dogs, these dogs being fairies themselves. The main fairy Wills saw happened to be named Faye. Even though women tend to swoon for Wills, he only has eyes, quite literally, for this one fairy. To that end, he even turned down his hot childhood friend Walletta Codrington. In any case, via his son, Trevor struck a deal with Faye to create artificial fairies, but once she realized he was using said fairies for murder, she retaliated by murdering him. She hoped this would put a stop to Trevor's workshop, but no, it continues even after his death, thanks to the presence of Will's eyes. Waver, Rhiness, and Gray all pay the workshop a visit to figure out why people keep dying there during storms. Another group consisting of Hishiri Adashino and Walletta arrive, suspecting that Will may have killed his own dad. For the heck of it, this episode seems to cameo Fate Apocrypha's Kairi Shishigo as well. Since he and Trevor are both necromancers, he's found exploring some catacombs beneath the workshop. They all get caught in a massive storm, and Walletta falls victim to the lightning dogs. Waver gathers everyone to forcibly summon Faye and learn the truth of the workshop. In order to escape, everyone's gotta fight against the dogs, though Gray and Rongo Minyad are the ones who really save the day. Since Will's eyes are responsible for the workshop's survival, he chooses to go back to the fairy realm with Faye, wrapping up everything nicely. Well, except for the dead waifu. Y'all know why I like her. Episode 6 is a more light-hearted affair, but there are still things we can learn from it. Rhiness convinces Gray to go shopping and try out fancy outfits at Carnac, one of London's biggest department stores. We find out that Luvia and her family own the entire store. It used to belong to the old man Guldoa from episode 3, but now that he's been arrested, the Adelfelds have nabbed it. Luvia's redesigned Carnac with architecture magically designed to lull customers into spending more, though it seems she's took things too far, adorning the store's basement with an Egyptian statue layered with jewels. The excessive nature of that spell goes out of control, trapping Gray, Rhiness, and Luvia in an isolated space. To escape from it, Luvia needs to wrestle her own security drones into submission. Lesson learned, extravagance in magecraft can prove to be very dangerous. The rest of the Grace Note anime tells a slightly altered version of the Rail Zeppelin arc. Because of that, we could end things here, except that the anime has a special bonus episode released sometime later. Think of it as a class reunion for Waver, meeting folks from when he was still a student at the Clock Tower. Back then, Waver would argue with Kenneth about the importance of pedigree in magecraft. He always wanted to believe that a mage could surpass their bloodline. This got him bullied by his classmates, particularly Amleth Wotan, who's a total prick. Another of Waver's classmates, Kamyu Peligor, actually admired Waver's ambition, but was effectively bullied into staying away from him. Amleth, despite being a well-practiced mage, seems to steal his techniques from the Peligor family, namely their specialty in shell projection. This is a lot like Shiro's projection, or tracing, but instead of projecting swords or other weapons, shell projections are impressively autonomous. They're great at serving as familiars, such as when Amleth projects a small griffin. On a grim note, it's implied that Amleth once summoned a larger griffin to attack Kamyu, scarring her body and damaging her magic circuits to the point where she was kicked out of the clock tower. Understandably, this left a big impact on her, and so she's nostalgic about the days when she still had a future as a mage. She yearns to relive the time when she and her peers all clung to their ambitions, which have since been squashed by reality. Beyond that, Kamyu inherits her family's company, Peligor Corp., which is strange for focusing on technology more than magecraft. I say strange because one could say modern technology and science are killing magecraft. In the 10 years since her attack, Kamyu's been aiming to redeem herself and tricks Amleth into her scheme. She also gets help from Toko Aozaki of all people. Her plan is interesting. Taken to its extreme, shell projection can even project an entire world. Specifically, Kamyu sets out to project a dream world of her memories, one that will trap Waver and his colleagues in a recreation of the past. At first, Amleth tests this theory by conducting an experiment on Waver. Using both memories and an old photograph, Omelette projects onto Waver the image of his younger self. Externally, everyone perceives this as Waver regressing to his teenage years. Comedic hijinks ensue as everyone teases Waver about how innocent he used to look. Having seen the concept proven, Kamyu puts together a class reunion and uses a slide projector of photos to project them into her dream world. This process demands the full remainder of her magic circuits. Of course, she still needs help, and it's not like she can keep a bunch of captives alive by herself, so that's where Toko comes in. As a renowned puppet master, Toko is able to transfer their minds to puppet bodies, which can remain trapped for eternity. Needless to say, Waver doesn't want to be trapped in the past, so he works with his students to counter Kamyu's spell. He and Rhinus attend the reunion with silver rune medallions, which allow them to keep their memories even in this dream world. On the outside, Flat and his classmates work to hack the spell. This lets them send Gray to the dream world, and she proceeds to destroy Kamyu's world egg with Rongo Minyad. With her plan all exposed, Kamyu tries to justify this world by citing all of Waver's broken dreams and how he should want to stay in the past. But now that Waver's pledged himself to Iskandar, he knows that he has to keep reaching toward the future, no matter how impossible it may be. When Kamyu's resolve is shattered, Toko ends the dream. In the aftermath, Omelette gets arrested for his crime against Kamyu and is even held responsible for her attempted kidnapping. On her end of things, Kamyu's magic circuits are now completely useless, making her an ordinary human. Despite their disagreements, Waver and Kamyu part amicably. As for Toko, she and Kamyu were buddies, and she was merely providing a favor. After all, she too was unable to become the mage she wanted to be, and so the sentiment rang true. Don't forget that Toko compensates for her lack of magic crest by essentially borrowing the crests of others. She's already got captive mages stashed away in a possessed state, and it's not like she can't add more. Still, she's relieved not to have to pay for any additional upkeep. Waver and his class then celebrate Christmas by watching a movie together. There was actually a lot more original content in this anime than I remembered. It's worth covering before I continue the lore of El Melloi's Adventure series. The second volume of that has finally been translated, so I'm excited to bring it to you as well. Until then, be sure to let me know what you think of this video in the comments below. Thanks for watching. This channel relies on support from viewers like you.
Please help us out by dropping a like and comment. Subscribe for more videos, and be sure to enable notifications. Or hit up our Discord so you never miss out on a new upload.
Most importantly, if you can spare it, please sign up as a channel member, either through YouTube, Patreon, or Subscribestar. You can find links in the description. We've got perks like exclusive content or early access.
Until next time,
Celebrate your fandom. I want to give a special shout out to all my $10 and up supporters. VideoGamer75, Dante Pendragon, Steven Elak, Otaku Mom, Mystic Samurai 1983, Freebrick, Alexis Yukio Gomez Yamato, Lunar Works, Olympian Doll, Link Pendrago, Observer Bellis, James Hewitt, Uncanny EXP, Crow Calum, Saul Soto, Tristan Riggin, Major, Caitlin P, Sogai CH, Sith Lord 906, Vladimirovna, The Taz 96, Kengo X 77, and Alistair Bernadotte. Thank you all so much, especially considering the recent hacking. You guys are the best.